In this activity, natural resources, you're going to have to think about the objects around a classroom. They can be solids, liquids, or gases. Again, plasma state objects can cause some problems if they were to find inside a classroom. But however, there are some plasma objects or plasma state material in the classroom. Um, but no, not a lot. If you are not in the classroom currently, you can actually just look at wherever you're at and look for items. I'm looking for objects that can be solids, liquid, or gases. Okay, and then you're gonna classify which parts of these objects come from a natural resource and which part comes from a synthetic resource. Synthetic usually means not natural, meaning that it was made by humans. Natural resource is anything that that was made or formed without the intervention of a human, necessarily. I mean, without direct intervention. Now, maybe like some indirect intervention, yes, but without any direct intervention. For example, a volcanic eruption, uh, transforming rocks from the lava into igneous rocks, or an earthquake removing some, having some of the rocks from the crust going into the mantle, like anything like that. Natural resource like wood, like metals, water is natural resource. Anything that can be found in nature without this direct intervention from a human. And synthetic is, direct intervention. Like a lot of the paintings that we have or the paints that we have are synthetic. There are some natural paints, but they are usually handmade or found in craft stores, but they're not the norm. A lot of the paints that we use, for example, are synthetic. Some materials like plastic can also be synthetic. A lot of polycarbons and synthetic, meaning like we have ripped apart carbon atoms and restructure them, rearrange them, so create some synthetic structures. A lot of, for example, the clothing. Some clothing is natural. If you look at your shirts right now, you can look if they are 100% cotton or polyester, or sometimes they have like different names. So those can refer to natural versus synthetic. Cotton, for example, 100% cotton it's natural, right? It comes from a natural resource. The threading can be natural, but it doesn't have to. Some fishing gear as well. You can think a lot about synthetic versus natural right there. So if they don't have any of these, make sure you explain how you know this, how you know that there's not, either natural or any synthetic. So let me give an example. For example, like pencil, right, would be an object found in the classroom. Again, if you're not in a classroom, you can pick any object around you. A natural part would be the wood or the graphite in the pencil. Um, a synthetic part could be some rubbers are synthetic. Sometimes they are just transformed from natural resource, but some of the erasers in the pencil are synthetic. But also perhaps the paint or the dye used to write the words, right? Like pencil number two, 2B, HB, all those maybe those paints are also synthetic. And how do you know that they are natural or synthetic, right? And then you're gonna have to go through a list of a lot of things. So let me see: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different objects around you. What I would do is I would try to write down all the objects first, like all the 14 things right now, and then start thinking about, does it have natural parts and does it have synthetic parts? And if you're really unsure, look in the internet, look it up. What are some natural parts for a certain object, like for a fork? Does it have natural parts? Does it have synthetic parts? Depending on which fork, right? If it's a plastic fork, if it's a metal fork, or if it has colors or anything like that, like you can find some natural and synthetic parts right there. So that's going to take you about, I'm going to say, good 30 to 45 minutes just to complete this chart, because a lot of times you're not going to know for specific objects, so you're gonna have to find them online. So you're gonna have to use online resources, and it's gonna take you a while. So you're gonna spend most of your time here. And then for level 3, you are going to think about what is better, synthetic or natural, based on what you're seeing here. And why do you think so? So this is like an introductory part. I know we looked at the diamond hoax last time. Diamonds, for example, you're not going to find them in a classroom necessarily, unless somebody brings them, they're wearing a real diamond. But we're looking, diamonds are natural resources, right? But they're not necessarily, or they're natural. They're not man-made necessarily. I mean, they can be caught by man, but they're not going to be. Most of them are found in nature. When people go and mine for diamonds. And then what objects from level 2? So you're gonna have to look back in your list. And what objects for level 2 do you think are available to students in most schools in the world? So like you're gonna have to think about, okay, like if you think about most of the schools around, like what would they have an object, or in households, right? If you're not in a classroom right now, in which households around the world will be most of these objects available? And what objects from level 2 do you think are harder to make available for students in other countries? So maybe all of this list, maybe all of them are available, but is it easy to get them, or is it harder to get them, right? And why do you think this is? Um, and then for level 4, you're going to have to apply these concepts and make it a little bit more, think a little bit outside the box. So for example, what natural resources listed in level 2 are only available in the US? And so you're now going to have to look at these natural parts right here. What natural resources are only available to the US? And what natural resources that are available in the US do you think are still imported from other countries? So if there's, like if there's one that is not, like, is there any resource that even though it's available, right? Like you have it in the US, but which ones of this also, even though we have it here in this country, we actually get from other countries. We buy them or get imported from other countries. Is selling natural resources or synthetic products to other countries beneficial or harmful to the seller country? And why do you think that some nations buy natural resources while others sell natural resources? So this is going to have a little bit of thinking beyond. So what I want to do with this is, you have been learning about natural resources since elementary. If you are unsure about what a natural or synthetic resource is, that's what this list is for. So I'm not going to spend time explaining what a natural resource is. I'm going to have you guys use the knowledge that you should have learned from elementary. And if you don't have that knowledge or you forgot, to use this activity right here in level 2 to remind you of the differences. And then we're going to move on. We're gonna apply that knowledge, because that's what we're doing right now. This last quarter is going to be all about applying the knowledge. And that's it.